Hi friends, Miss Hazel here.
And Miss Kate.
Okay, today our artist of inspiration is an artist called Niki de Saint Phalle. And she was French, but she lived between the US and she was educated in New York, and she didn't go to art school, but she was an artist. So she was a self-taught artist, much like myself and Miss Kate. So we're going to make a paper mache sculpture based on her serpents. They're called tree serpents, and they exist in a lot of different places. There are some in California. Miss Kate, did you find another location?
Well, they showed at the Missouri Botanical Garden.
Okay.
I don't actually know if they're still there, so I'm trying to find that out for you.
But look her up online and look at her work. It's very colorful. It's very vibrant. She uses a lot of different textures and colors, and she mosaics the outside, and they're big. So we're going to make a small scaled down version of her serpents, the tree serpents. So here's what we're working towards. So to build the serpent model, we're using some things that maybe you have around. A pool noodle, which I cut into a small section, and then I used the hole and I built some snakes to go inside. So this was just some foam that was used to pack for packaging. So I just took the pieces of cardboard, like the foam, cut them into small pieces, kind of rounded the corner so it would look like a serpent. And then I used some tape, because we're going to put paper mache plaster strips over this. Like that. And then I took the serpent and I poked it into the hole, and I put 3 of them. I think you could put more if you wanted to. There could be 4. And then as the paper mache goes on it, it sort of bends down. I kind of started this one, but you get the idea. So that's how I built the serpent, tree serpents. And now I'm going to paper mache it, and I'll show you how I did that. Get this stuff out of my way. I'm going to put some gloves on because it's kind of messy. And it'll be easier for me to clean myself up to finish showing you the project. So what I found in practicing this project is that it is easiest and best if you start from the bottom and work up. Because when I started from the top and my serpent started to go down, I couldn't get to the bottom. So that is, you want to start from the bottom and go up. And you want to try to keep this area clean because you're actually going to draw on it, because that's going to be part of your project. So I start by, I took this off earlier so you could see it, but I started my paper mache. So I'm setting up my paper mache area. I am having newspaper down to protect my surface. I've got my paper mache strips. I'm going to flip the container and keep the dry strips on this side of me. Then I've poured some water in the bottom of it. Put that here. Then I'm going to work this way. Paper mache, water, and then onto my sculpture. So if I go the other way and water drips, if I go this way, water drips all over my plaster, it'll ruin my plaster. Okay, because it dries pretty quickly. So get started. I'm going to dip it in, lightly wipe any extra water that you have off, and you're going to start way down at the very bottom, and you want to make sure that you connect your base. I've taped it down, but I want to use my plaster to tape it down, and I want to use my finger on my plaster to wake it up. And if you see up close on the plaster strips, they have holes. But when they get wet, you wake up the plaster, and then it gets to be smooth. So I'm dipping it in, wrap it around the bottom. You don't have to work so fast, but they do dry pretty quick. Make sure that you get that down, smooth it off. I would try to keep the plaster away from this area. If it goes on there, it's okay. It'll just be, because you're going to decorate that as well. Okay, a little extra water. Going to work your way up using your strips, and then going to the bottom like that. There you go. And wake up the plaster. I would suggest on this project that you try not to put a lot of same strips on the same area. One strip is probably good. You could do some overlapping so that you don't end up with, you have enough plaster to do your project. See, I'm waking it up. There we go.
But also, especially on the snakes, you don't want them to be too
heavy. So there we go. So we've got that. And now I will show you how I paper mache'd the actual snake, the snake's mouth. So I've got a skinny piece. I'm going to dip it in the water, and then I went right inside the mouth. Look at that. And I wrapped it around. And then what happens as you put the plaster on, the snake will go down a little bit. The serpent, I guess it's a serpent. Okay, there. And dip it in again. And then this can go into the mouth and wrap it around. And then remember to use your fingers to smooth down your plaster. Can see how it gets smooth like that when you've woke up the plaster. Do another one. Make sure you cover everything. There we go. And now you can see what I'm talking about. It starting to get a little bit heavy. Can you see how it was standing up before and now it's starting? There we go. Okay, with that. And then you want to, there we go. I'm going to do that again where I kind of wiggle it down inside. Maybe lift up the serpent and go underneath. You're going to do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Wake it up. The important thing is you want to try to cover up all the foam. It's a very interesting sculpture. Her work is really wonderful. There's like a 3-acre park in France with all these different kind of sculptures that she's made. There's a park down near San Diego that has a sculpture garden of nanas, which is another theme of big sculptures that she made. Okay. And she lived, I think, until 1988. Did she pass away in 1988?
I will find that out for you.
Okay. So now that tree serpent is all the way covered. And now, so you get the idea. You want to be afraid to just sort of get it in there, wiggle it in.
Oh, 2002.
Oh, I was
wrong. She died in La Jolla, which is down San Diego way.
Okay, so there we go. You're going to cover all of your parts of your serpent. I like the way that each one is going to have its own character. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to look and make sure I can see down under that serpent. I didn't get the neck. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is make sure I wake up all the plaster and I don't have any holes. Okay, there's done that. And I'm going to wipe it so that the base is pretty clear. And I'm going to say, good job, tree serpent. And I'm going to put this away over here and I'm going to show you what we'll do next. So that has to dry. And when you're holding plaster, making sure it's dry, it's going to feel really cold when it's still wet. If you have a warm place or you can place it in the sun, but because we're going to completely seal it, you need to make sure your plaster is all the way dried before you do anything else to it. So that might take a day or 2 or 3, depending on what the weather's like around. If it's really rainy out, the air is going to be damp. It's going to take longer to dry. But make sure it's all the way dry. And then the fun begins. When it's all the way dry, we were thinking it would be the most fun if we had a white canvas to start with. So that means we're going to use our friend Mod Podge. We're going to use a foam brush and we're going to put a nice thick coat all over your tree serpent when you're done to seal it all up. And then it's going to give it a really nice shiny base. It'll dry, it'll go into all the nooks and crannies, and you'll have a really good kind of canvas, so to speak, of an area to work with. So you're going to use that, lots and lots, nice thick coat of, well, lots and lots might take a long time to dry, but a nice kind of thick coat. You're going to cover that up. if you'll see on this one that I made, I was not mindful of keeping the base clear. So it doesn't really matter, but it'll be easier and maybe a little more fun for you to draw if you keep it less textured. All right, so now I'm putting a nice coat of that on. And then you'll see if you didn't cover it, it'll look dull like this. But if you have covered it, it'll look shiny. So you want to pick it up and look all around and make sure you cover your whole serpent with Mod Podge. And then let that dry. I'm thinking overnight, Miss Kate.
At least overnight.
At least overnight. And you'll know it's dry because when you touch it, it'll be soft and dry. And then the fun part begins of the decorating. We think it's fun to do it. I'm going to clean up my area a little bit. Look at that. I kept my work surface clean. Oh, I need to tell you, be careful when you're cleaning up from your plaster strips. If there's any extra water in your container, do not pour it down your drain. It can block your drain. And also get a paper towel and wipe off the most of it you can off your hands before you wash your hands because you don't want the plaster to go down the drain. That's a helpful hint. Okay, so now you're going to get your black Sharpie out. You're going to make some outlines. You're going to do some swirls. You're going to practice with color and pattern, and you're going to cover your whole serpent with really fun art that you created. So I think you get the idea here.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, so in Escondido, there's a park there called, I just forgot what it was called.
Oh.
There's a good park. Oh, Queen Khalifa's Magical Circle.
Yeah. And then you're just going to use your marker and you can see. You can use permanent markers or you can use water markers. They'll all work on top of your layer of Mod Podge that dries. So there you have it. We are inspired by artist Niki de Saint Phalle and her tree serpents. So thank you all for joining us today. If you like this video and you want to subscribe, you can do that right below. Also, take good care of yourself, be nice to each other, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.